If you love podcasters being wrong and lots of numbers being read out for an hour, then this is the podcast for you. This is the ArsenalVision Post-Match Podcast. My name is Elliot. You can block me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. It's the Predictions Podcast. I mean, I have to admit, it's not my favorite. Clive's favorite, not my favorite. We really, honestly, we only do it because Clive likes it so much. But I mean, it is an important podcast because in this day and age, it isn't really important if you have good conversations. It isn't really important if you make good points. It isn't really important if you have something to say. What's important is if you were right or you were wrong about things that are going to happen in the future. And if you were wrong, you should be dragged. And if you were right, you should still get no credit for that either. So that is the internet. That is what we are participating in because, so you don't like society? Interesting, but you participate in a society is the meme we are participating in and engaging in here. Thank you so much for being here. We love you. This is officially season 7 of the ArsenalVision Post-Match Podcast, and I can't even believe it. Like I think about the fact that we're sat here doing this and someone other than my mom or my pets is listening to it, and it blows me away. And it is a credit to the tolerance of you, dear audience, but also the quality of Tim. You can find him on Twitter @Stoberto. Hello, Tim, and welcome to season 7.
Hello there. Thank you.
And Paul, you can find him on Twitter, Pause My Pants. Hello, Pause, and welcome to, well, we can announce it, your final season on the podcast.
What have you heard? Woohoo!
And Clive, you can find him on Twitter @Clive, PAFC. And Clive, I do want to congratulate you on the new pod you're starting.
Hello. I'm not sure what to make of that, but hey, here we go.
No, don't make anything of it because if you do, I know where you live. Okay, so I do want to let you know we'll have an all or nothing pod coming out. The first 3 episodes are fun. I think you'll enjoy them. They're definitely manicured, but there's insight there. I also think it gets you fired up to root for these players. There are going to be memes that come from it. Let's just say that. There will be memes. If you are meme inclined, there's fertile ground there for memeing. So with that having been said, I will tell you that we don't just do a season prediction podcast. We are so bold as to put our predictions out. And I will tell you just basically last season, we predicted 5th and 6th place finishes for the Arsenal. I predicted 6th. Paul predicted 6th. Tim, Clive, and Scott went with 5th. On points, I went 61. Tim went 64. Clive went 66. Paul went 61. Scott went 64. Goals scored, 57, 66, 66, 63, 60. And goals conceded, 45, 44, 40, 45, 42. It's all on our website under stuff, last season's predictions. But the point is, we beat those predictions. The club beat our rosiest predictions. And that's great. But there's more progress to be made. We'll see what kind of progress we predict this time around. Scott will have his own pod for this. We will do a pod with Scott, respecting his rightful position as the numbers guy. We don't want to embarrass all of us with his accurate numbers and our guessy numbers. So here we go. Let's kick it off. I'm going to start with you, Tim. Arsenal's final position in the table this season will be
4th.
And you'd take it. You would absolutely take it. Clive, Arsenal's final position in the table will be.
Just to drive the Disco Boys crazy, I'm going to go 3rd.
3rd, okay. And we're going to have a quick discussion about this after we log all of this. Paul, Arsenal's final position in the table will be
4.5, which I know is not allowed, but I really think it's a toss-up. I'm going to go with 4th because I'm an Arsenal supporter, but I think it's touch and go for anyway.
Yep, I'm putting you down for 4th, and I am going to go with 3rd. And that means we all believe it's return to Champions League football for Arsenal. And I guess, Tim, just to linger on this for a moment, it really is the point that we still believe that City and Liverpool are a good distance beyond everybody else. And that after that, much like last season, there's a cluster of teams that may surprise you in the positive way or surprise you in the negative way, but don't have a clear claim to being better. I think Chelsea have fallen back to the group of Spurs, Arsenal, and United, if you want to put United in that group. I don't think United have done enough aside from signing, a coach that I think we rate and think is good, and a couple of good signings, to be fair, a good fullback, good center back, but maybe not quite as much as they had hoped. to clearly vault them ahead of Arsenal and Tottenham, who I think look, at least right now, to have either the most settled or the most ready team to go attack Mount top four. And so it really, I think, as it always does every season, unfortunately, come down, I think, for most of us to whether Arsenal is going to finish above Tottenham or the other is going to happen. I have us as doing it this season, but I acknowledge that Spurs, as much as I hate to say it, have a very good coach, have some very good players in their prime, and look like they've built the exact kind of team that Antonio Conte needs to do well. So I could see us finishing fourth behind them, third ahead of them. Chelsea and United are the wild cards there, but is that sort of how your analysis shapes out for this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be small margins again. Yes, probably between us and Spurs. Like you say, Man United, completely unknown quantity, I think, at this moment in time. Like, we have to acknowledge how bad they were last season, and they do have really, really good players. They really do. Like, it does amaze me how quickly opinions flip on players, but they have a really, really good squad. And if they can put it together, then, they really should be a member of that top three. I agree. I think I see Chelsea falling back a little bit. Maybe only just for this season while they get things sorted. I just think they've had so much upheaval in a short space of time. And I completely agree with your assessment. I think Arsenal and Spurs have had very similar summers. They had a plan from day number one of the summer, and they've both carried it through, and I think got about 90% of what they wanted to get ready for the first day of the season. So I completely acknowledge I think Spurs have improved as well. So at this stage, I'd say it will be exactly the same as last season. It will be small margins. I just think completely unscientifically, it's about time those margins went our way. And to be fair, there was a lot, I think, when I say that went against us, I don't mean that was unfair, but right. I mean like injuries to key players at key times and things like that, which I think would have got fourth without, obviously. But you know what I mean? I just feel like it's so slight that this time it should go our way. Again, unscientific.
Yeah, I think, at least as far as Arsenal and Tottenham are concerned, and probably Chelsea as well, an unwanted doesn't make sense because they're all unwanted, but a strategically bad injury at the wrong time of the season is going to mean that team doesn't achieve their goals. And, an extra penalty given in a game is going to ensure the other one does. I think the margins are that fine. And Clive, maybe the team that we're not giving enough credit here is Chelsea. The ownership change doesn't impact the pitch. Now, they have not had the summer I think they would have wanted to have. And I think a lot of people look at that as a reason that they will not go on to have the season that they had last season, which it's not that it was a great season, but 74 points, almost assuredly enough points again to be in the top four and maybe ahead of Tottenham Arsenal. They did have a plus 43 goal difference, so solidly ahead of Spurs and Arsenal in that respect. But, they've lost players. I don't think they've solved exactly what they want to do up front unless you think Sterling is the answer. Conor Gallagher is a really good and interesting player. So are we sleeping on Chelsea a little bit? How do you see that Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea, and United cluster breaking out?
Oh, I think it's going to be. I don't think we're sleeping on Chelsea. I think they'll be fine. They have a inbred culture around winning and what being a Chelsea player means.
I've always thought of them that way myself.
I think that culture's being tested because it was driven down by the owner. So now what do they stand for today? We don't know. We don't know the tolerances. We don't know what the environment's like. Not just the owners changed, but key people have changed in the executive. There's no Marino, there's no Peter Cech. There's some key people that have gone there. So what players do, they jump into gaps. And they test the organisation around their behaviours. And I think that's going to be interesting. It was interesting to hear Tuchel talk about the commitment levels of players pre-season when they played Arsenal. There are certain players looking out the window, looking for contracts elsewhere. So I think they're going to find it a little bit tough because stability is key. I could go on, mate. Manchester United, I don't think much has changed. They just banged out a 4-2-3-1 with slightly different rotations there. The players are the same. Martial playing false nine, not buying it. A lot depends on Rashford's and resurrection, shall we say. And he's a fine player. And if he does come back, I think he'll do a bit. And I think England need him as well in the World Cup, so that'll be one to watch. Spurs, I think
Are United, just real quick, can I ask you are United sort of us 2 seasons ago, so to speak? Like,
Yeah.
or, they got a new manager, everything was broken, they've got to tear it down and rebuild, and hopefully they don't get it right, as they haven't for many, many years, but right now, they look to me to be in the early stages of what we were trying to do.
And they're trying to do it, but nobody's convinced by what they're selling. So that's why they're not able to bring many new players in. Right, so now we're into a situation similar to Arteta 2 years ago, where he's putting in a bunch of tactics with people that he doesn't really like. And we can say that 2 years later because the team is completely different. Right, and now we can see all the specifics that Arteta's put in place, and we're all talking about it like we're experts. Well, he put it in place, and we're learning from him. So I think Ten Hag will, hopefully he's been given, and I mean this from a football perspective, hopefully he'll be given time, like Arteta's been given time, to put his imprint on the club. But doing a rebuild when European markets are dead apart from the Premier League is very, very tough, as we are finding out when we're letting people go for a set of tracksuits and a set of balls. Right? It's really tough, right? So it's interesting to see them go through. I mean, I could go on in it, but I don't want to take up all the time. But I do think the league is going for a piece of transition, actually. I don't think there are too many settled teams. And I think a lot of teams are introducing new players, new philosophies. And if anything, the reason why Spurs and Arsenal are getting a bit of praise pre-season is because they are layering on their playing philosophies from last season. And I think that's why we're suddenly looking a little bit brighter, shall we say, from a going forward perspective.
Yeah, well said. And we aren't covering the news today, right? We're doing our predictions, but obviously a lot of outgoings taking place. Loan for Patino, that looks like a pretty good one, to a coach who did well for Brook Norton-Cuffy last season, so that's happening. Leno gone for chump change. Torreira gone for chump change. I think the issue that any of the top 6 clubs in Premier League have is, if you're trying to sell someone who at one point was a starter, that means they were on starter top 6 wages. And there is a sliver of football clubs in the world that will pay that. And that is just the rub now for these teams. So something to consider if you're aghast at the fees we're getting. Selling your starters means you're selling big wages. And sometimes we look at other clubs and say, they're selling this guy who hardly played and they're getting a fee for him. Well, because he might be quite good, but he also might be on 20 grand a week. And your starters aren't. So a lot of these other clubs have players they've struggled to sell or had to give away or sold cheaply as well. So, Paul, let's transition from your final position thought to points, but you had us at 4.5. I'm guessing then that you are probably pricing in the Arsenal bias in all of us to realize that Chelsea and Spurs were ahead of us last season. And as it stands right now, it is not a clear and obvious straight line to us being better than either of them.
Yeah, I think Spurs will be frustratingly solid as they ended the second half of last season. Conte has got as he wants. If you want instability at Spurs, you need to have Conte throwing his toys around in the summer, and he is not. And I just don't think they'll waste too much next year. They're it'll be like that car ahead of you that's hard to get past. And we may have a few ups and downs and this and that, but way more exciting project team. If I were in neutral out there picking a team, it'd be us. I think we'll play better football, have better exciting runs, but they'll just be, from our standpoint, very dull and frustrating. Chelsea is the one that has lots of shenanigans potential there, and we could see fireworks coming out of Tuchel's head at some point. And I do think the culture thing is going to change massively internally and will impact them on the pitch. So that's my opportunity to get past them. And I think it's too soon for United to be consistently good for the season. So that's why I think
the only thing I'll say on Spurs are frustratingly solid, but I think they're the same team they were last season, in the sense that I think they're going to beat some big teams because their style of football is solid. It's great for counterattacking. It doesn't give a lot away. I still think that they are the team of this group that is going to have the hardest time consistently beating the bottom half of the table.
It may come down to who has a lot of draws, and they could end up with a lot of draws.
Yeah. I mean, this is where they depend on just like Son or Kane doing a magic in the final third. And to be fair, a lot of football comes down to that, and they have that. So kudos to them, I guess. Paul, stay with you. Give me the points total for Arsenal this season.
73.
See, and that's the thing, right? Like, it's a very, very rare season that doesn't get you in the top 4. So that would be a 2-point improvement. Am I right in saying? Pardon me, a 4-point improvement, right? Yes, a 4-point improvement on this season. And I think we're not going to see the kind of improvement we saw last season, I think, where we were, 8 points better? I mean, that would get us to 77. I think we'd all take that. But yes, that gets us in top 4. Tim, what do you have for points?
Yes, 71, which actually got Spurs 4th this season, therefore emphasising my small margins talk.
And I mean, at 71, again, there were a lot of paths to 71 last season too. You see how small those margins are. And in the other direction, again, I brought it up numerous times. Tottenham Hotspur were trailing by 2 goals in the 94th minute against Leicester away and won that game. And any other result in that game, and we're top 4 and they're not. So, just something to think about. Clive, what do you have for points for us? I know that predictions and predicting specific numbers is your thing. So what do you got?
Yeah, this is not my favorite podcast of the year, but
just pick a number.
I will say to you,
69 last season.
69. I say 78 this season.
Ooh, me.
Yeah.
By the way, that
78.
9-point improvement is the exact amount of improvement Spurs made this past season. So it's not impossible to do it. I think the higher up in the point totals you get, the harder it is to add those numbers. I think 78 is in the range of outcomes, though. I have us at 76 points for this season, which is why I have us 3rd. And I think it boils down to obviously a little bit of luck. Injury luck in particular, certain players staying fit and playing the way they are. But we have a front line now that I think has more goals in it, as we'll come to next. And ultimately, those goals are the reason I think we will finish ahead. It also is the case that last season we still were very much searching, right? We started the season with Aubameyang as a starter. The middle of the season, Lacazette was a starter, and by the end of the season, Eddie Nketiah was our starter. When your center forward goes through that kind of transition during a season, that's not a good sign. This season, I don't think we have any such problem. And by the way, I think we will still strengthen a little bit. I think there's more incomings ahead, so let's keep an eye on that. Clive, Elliot, I'll stay with you.
75 for me. I've changed my mind. I'm up in the 2. 73 is too low. 75.
Okay, that leaves Tim as the negative Nelly on 71. Yeah. Tim, you'll have to hope that Scott bails you out when he comes on for his pod and goes with something like 57. I will say that I think the range, right? So last season, I thought the range was big, but big to the bottom end and bigger to the top end. I think the range to the bottom end this season is less. Like, I guess what I'm saying is last season, I thought we could finish with high 50s points, and we had done so in the previous 2 seasons. This season, I don't think anything below upper end of the 60s is realistic. And that's good because it means our floor is European football and top 4. Really, we have a base camp to assault top 4. So goals scored, Tim, I will just tell you so you have something to work from. Last season, obviously, this is what held us back. 61 goals scored, 8 fewer than Spurs, 15 fewer than Chelsea, just 4 more than Manchester United. 61 goals last season. What do you have this season?
70 this season. Yeah, I think if we don't improve on that, we've been badly coached, I'd say, with the people that we've brought in. Maybe even the person we brought in.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you could wind up in a situation like Jesus is out for a long stretch, or Jesus and Saka are out for a long stretch. There's always a reason why you don't get there.
Even then, like, Nketiah will do more goals than Lacazette.
That's a good point. Yeah. And I mean, and I think the whole system, like, this is the thing. I've been on this podcast before, having said things like, I don't know if Mikel Arteta can coach an attack. Okay, raise my hand. I said that. And to be fair, because at the time it did not look like we created it's hard to remember that once upon a time we were getting 7 shots a game, right? We were averaging less than 1 expected goal a game. Clive, now we're not. Now we're up the pitch. We're pressing high. We're winning the ball back and in transition creating chances. And I think the chances we're creating is going to lead to more goals. I mean, that's an obvious statement. But if you look at this team, let's go back to 2019. In 2019, 56 goals. In 2020, 55 goals. Last season, we bounced that all the way up to 61, so we added 6 goals. I mean, not a monster improvement, so the points improvement didn't come with maybe the huge improvement. I think to be in the top 4 this season, we are going to need close to 70 goals. So from the 61 last season, how many do you expect us to get this season?
Well, to be consistent with where my head is, I think I'm looking at Chelsea scoring 76 goals last year, and I don't think any of us would call them free scoring. Maybe that's just a recency bias in my mind. I think we can get 76 goals. That's what I think we can get. So,
that'd be a fun season.
Yeah, I really do. I see a different in dynamics, a different form of energy. I see, even though the pattern of play is familiar, it's different. And I think we're going to surprise people. I really do. And so, yeah, I can see all. We know the goals that Arsenal have scored historically in recent years. They've been beautiful to watch. We can all see them in our minds. Some of the goals I've seen pre-season are just goals that everyone else scores. Half-chance goals we can't see coming. It's. I think we're going to get a lot more of those. And from that, we'll get some big scores. So, yeah, 76 is my number.
The funny thing is, the last time we eclipsed that was 2016-17. We had 77 goals and finished 5th, 1 point behind Liverpool, who had 78 goals, ironically. And since then, it really has been a pretty weak slide down. Now, we also finished 6th in 2017-18 with 74 goals. So the addition of goals doesn't guarantee you the top 4 place you want. But I do think that it is the component that's been missing from us getting to that position in the table. So, Paul, what do you have for goals scored this season?
I think we really got to get into the 70s here. I think it'll be a real disappointment for me if we're not hitting those numbers. I'm going to go with 73, 74. Let's say 73 to be vaguely conservative. I think 2 goals per game. We tracked that for a long time last year. I know we think we didn't score a lot once, even when we were winning. But in that run, from Southampton to the international break of 14 games, that was 2 goals per game. Maybe there could have been 1 or 2 tougher fixtures in there that we didn't face on the average. But I think two goals per game is obviously 76. That's what Chelsea got. And for much of last season, as long as we have the players we need, and to your point, haven't been hit by injuries in the wrong places for too long, I think 2 goals per game is a reasonable clip that we should be able to do across a full season. But we'll have a game or two. There's always a little bit of a dip. So, yeah. that's my rationale, and I think Chelsea's a good marker. I think we'll spread the goals around, and we'll see that when we get to the individual tallies more than we think we will. But yeah, that's the number.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, a lot of people think the way you get to those numbers is you're just better in every game. But realistically, the free scoring teams, what they do is they rack up a few 4 and 5 nils, right? A few 4s, a few 5s, a few 6s. We just haven't done that. This team looks poised. Look, this team's going to beat someone 5-1 or 6-2 this season. There's going to be a result like that this season.
Yeah,
I'm sure of it. 10-0 as well, obviously. So I think, you do that twice. You post a couple of 5s instead of 1s, and suddenly you've just improved 8 goals over a previous season. And I think this team has it in them. Watching that all or nothing thing, it's a reminder that after our bad 3-game start last season, what did we go and do? We went and beat Norwich 1-0. And we went and beat Burnley 1-0. That was the way we resurrected our season. Now we needed it. We did it. And thank God we did it. But I think those kind of games against the relegation fodder this season, we're going to have a couple of 4s and 5s. Doesn't mean we won't lose stupid games too, but I think the goals are in there. So for me, I am going to go with, there's a part of me that thinks this whole thing could just pop and we get 80 goals and we finish 3rd and we're the team people are talking about as we weren't quite City or Liverpool, but wow, look at this Arsenal team. The hard part for me is it still feels fragile in the sense that you take a piece out and it's like a Jenga thing, right? I could see it all falling down I could name 1 or 2 pieces that I think if they were pulled out, we look a lot more like the team of 2 seasons ago than the team we want to be this season. But I'm going to really push the boat out and say 78 goals. I think the system creates a lot of chance. I think there is a possibility and I know I'm going based on preseason, which is so dangerous, but I'm also going based on what I saw in the middle of last season, right? That December to April time when we were trending to be that kind of team. I think we can do it. And I don't think I have a history of trying to be positive for no reason. I have a history of, some would say, of being overly negative. I paint what I see, right? And what I see is a team that looks kind of like it's clicking and has the pieces to be where it needs to go. So I'll say 78. For goals allowed, it's funny, right? Because this is where I'm like, whatever. Concede however many you want. Score the goals, I'll be happy, right? So like I tend not to focus on it. But if you look at it, City conceded 26 last season. Liverpool conceded 26. Chelsea conceded 33. Spurs 40. Arsenal 48. United 57, right? So yeah, City and Liverpool scored 99 and 94 respectively, but it's conceding in the 20s means you're just going to win a lot of games because teams just aren't going to hurt you. But the way they do it is they keep the ball away from their half. There's a lot of data that says forget defending. The further the ball is away from your goal on average, the fewer goals you concede. And we are going to keep the ball further from our goal. 2 seasons ago, we played low block football, counterattacking football. Last season at times, we played mid block football. This season, we're going to be playing high press, high possession football. That means the ball is going to be away from our goal. I still think we concede more than we might like because I think the press at times will get broken, that we will make mistakes in the high press and teams will get in behind us. But they won't do it enough to really punish us the way we've seen at times. So I'm going to say that we make a defensive improvement down to 42 goals conceded, which, by the way, if you're doing the math at home, which I hope you are, because that's literally the point of this entire episode, puts us at a plus 36 goal difference, which is still not as good as what Chelsea produced last season. So if you're saying that's outrageous, we're not going to get there. Well, we were at 13 last season. Spurs were at 29. Chelsea were at 43. I have us at a plus 36 with 42 goals allowed. Tim, goals allowed.
Yeah, 39 is what I'm going for. I agree with that. I think, first of all, we've got 2 really good defenders who've come into... Well, actually, whether Zinchenko's a good defender, I suppose, is up for debate, but I think he strengthens our defence. Not least because he helps keep the ball away from there. And we've brought Saliba in, and Saliba, for my money, knocks Cedric down the list. So basically, we've kind of replaced Cedric and Tavares with Zinchenko and Saliba.
Yep.
And I think that leaves us in a stronger place personnel-wise. But I agree with you. I think most of it will be because hopefully we will be better at keeping the ball away from our goal. So I'm going 39 conceded.
Yep, I agree. Clive?
Yeah, I'm around the same. I say 40 just to keep it nice and round. I think we'll control the story of more games. Plus 36 goal difference, you and me. Yeah, I think we'll control the story of more games, and we may concede in like a 4-2 type thing scenario. Do you know what I mean? But it won't really matter, that type of thing. And so that's what I'm hoping for: controlling the ball, increasing technical level, controlling the story of football matches. Just win. And then I actually don't think the goals against going to massively change. I think the story will be in the goals for.
Yeah. Can I just add as well, when you look at, we lost 5-0 at City and 4-0 at Liverpool last season, and that's 9 goals right there. I'm not expecting to win either of those games next season. I'm probably expecting to lose both of them, but not by that much. Hopefully we can close that gap a bit, and that might eat away some of the goals conceded.
It's a good point. The funny thing is, I see us as the opposite of Spurs in a way, Paul. Like, Spurs are a team that look poised to beat the big boys and struggle against the lower half because of their counterattacking prowess and their defensive solidity. I think we're a team that wants to play high press football and keep the ball. And I think we'll be able to do that against 85% of the league to great effect. We're not ready to do it against Liverpool and City, which means, do we have a plan B for those games? And if we don't, those games could be a little bit tricky, right? Because you try to high press and control the ball against Liverpool and City. You only have to get it wrong. Clive, jump in here because you got something to add on that. But that's because my take is those are the games we could get punished. Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is where the Arsenal man comes out at me. When I hear people talk about Spurs in positive light, I have to jump in there, right? Because I watched the Spurs pre-season game versus Roma, and there was no free-flowing football. Barely any shots. Barely any creativity. And I watched the way Roma sort of mid-deep blocked them, and it was easy for them. 1-0 win.
Well, it's Jose Mourinho for you.
They counter-attacked them, and Richarlison came on, and he was their spark. He was making big dribbles from deep. I'm thinking, yeah, well, that's just plucky football. I may be digging my own grave here, but I think I know what Spurs are going to do, and I'm just a bloke. So if analysts are watching this, if you're watching Spurs and you're not reading all the rhetoric of pre-season and fearing them, just sit in your mid-low block and wait for them, because they've got no creativity at all. They need spaces to run through, and then you just run through them, and that's it. It's not. I honestly feel.
But to be fair, Clive,
they're a known quantity. They're a known quantity. Yeah. You just got to be sharp and not make mistakes.
To be fair, I think that's what we've said, though, right? Which is they could struggle against the bottom 2/3 of the league. I think it's the teams that give them the space, the big teams that want to control the ball and push them back, that actually give them a platform to go do the thing they like to do. That's all I'm saying, right? So they may be a team that, because look at them last season. I don't think they played any good football last season, but they didn't lose to City or Liverpool in 4 games, right? Because those games suit them a little bit.
Yeah, I think
that's my only point.
I don't think they got respected enough by those teams. City is just an unlucky team. I mean, Spurs knocked City out of the Champions League. I don't know how they did that, right? So, and I don't think they got respected by those teams in where they were in the season, but I think they'll be respected now. That's what I'm trying to say. I think they're more of a known quantity, and I think they could find it more difficult than everyone thinks they're going to find it.
Cool. All right. Paul, quickly on goals allowed.
42.
Okay. So we're look, the funny thing is we're all of a piece on this. I'll stay with you, Paul, quickly. We're going to start to do some speedier stuff here because I want to get through all of it. There's a lot. Top scorer, who do you have? And that's top all goals, non-penalty. Oh, by the way, for any stats, we're doing Premier League only unless otherwise stated, right? So Premier League only, top scorer.
Who's the top scorer in the Premier League?
Arsenal's top scorer. Sorry, I apologize.
Gabriel Jesus, that's easy.
Okay. Tim, you agree?
100% agree, yes.
Yeah, seems hard to argue with that. Clive?
Well,
you can't nod in an audio format. You have to say.
Pablo Marie's going. I think I'm going to go for Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Gabriel Jesus as well. Clive, I'll stay with you for a second. Yep.
Look, Elliot, can I say because I didn't really say much, and the knock against Gabriel Jesus is that he underperforms XG. You know what my joke on this is, Elliot, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. However, if you think back on his past record, 5 loaves, 2 fishes, he feeds 5,000 people. Now, if that isn't overperforming your XG, I don't know what is.
There you go. Had to get it in. Boom. Yeah. Bible joke. Okay. Clive, player of the season.
Ooh. I'm gonna go Jesus again, I suppose. Mm-hmm. I think he's, based on what I've seen so far in my own eyes, his influence is just massive. But there's a number of people that I think are making strides forward, and as we would expect with a young team. So I'll say Jesus as we sit here in early August. It just seems obvious.
Yeah, he kind of has to be right. If we score the goals that we've all predicted, 76, 73, 78, and he's our top scorer, he's going to be our player of the season. Tim, do you have any other direction you want to go?
I'm going to take another stat. I'm going to say Martin Ødegaard because I've said many times, I think he was close to our player of the season last season. I think there's another 10-15% from him. Having an actual striker in the team will help that. If he shows his real potential and gets close to his ceiling, I think he's, along with Saka, the most talented player we have. So I'll predict Ødegaard.
Yeah, Paul?
Gabriel Jesus, for obvious reasons. If we're going to have the season, blah, 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 then Gabriel Jesus must blah, blah, blah. I am getting flashbacks to last year's predictions where we had various things that said Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, because if we're going to have the season to blah, 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 Yeah.
To be fair, if Jesus is playing for Barcelona in January, I don't think Mikel Arteta will be the manager of Arsenal in January. So I don't think any of that's happening.
I think we would have said that last year with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, though, too.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's not.
Okay.
Let's not do it. I've got Bukayo Saka. I think he will run Jesus close for scoring, and he will add the assists. And I think he continues to be a guy who has the ability to break a game open in 1v1 situations. I think some of the reason he'll be player of the season too is I think he and Jesus will be a toss up, and he's the academy player, so he wins it. Right? I think it's that simple. But if it's Jesus, like I could just as easily see that being the case. Tim, who's your breakout player this season?
I'm gonna say William Saliba, if indeed that counts.
It does.
Do you know what? I didn't quite say this on the other pod, but I've got this weird feeling that the back four I think we're going to see on Friday night with Ben White at right back, I've just got a funny feeling that that's going to work and that we'll stick with it for quite a while. I've no idea what the kind of status is with Tomiyasu. I think with Tomiyasu and Tierney, what we're seeing now is they don't have to be rushed. They don't have to be rushed anymore. And I've just got a feeling that if the season starts well, Arteta's just going to go, I'm going to stick with this until it doesn't work anymore. And I can see Saliba playing a lot of games. And if that comes true, and then Saliba's in the first 11 and therefore isn't in the Europa League team, I'm not saying that will definitely happen. But I think it's definitely in the range of possibilities. I think William Saliba, and I think the conversation we're going to have a lot as the season goes on is, oh God, can we tie him down to a new contract very soon, please? I think that's a conversation we will have a lot on this podcast in the coming months.
Let's hope we don't need to, because it's done before the end of August. Clive, breakout player.
Yeah, I agree with those sentiments around the back four that Tim just spoke to. I actually see Tomiyasu spending time at left back this season. I think that's something that was tried last year, and I think I can see Zinchenko going into midfield more often than not. Also, more often than we actually realise. I think there will be days when Tomiyasu will be inverted left back and Ben White inverted right back, and great options to have. Great options to have. My breakout player, after watching at the weekend and seeing a mini transformation, both physically and emotionally and speed-wise, has got to be Gabriel Martinelli. I think, does that still count? Am I allowed to say that one?
Yeah. Because it's my choice too.
Yeah, because I just see I see this relationship building with Jesus, and those three boys look like three forwards. I said that, and it was significant, the change. And I had concerns about him. In all my thoughts of rebuilding the squad, I wanted a serious, tall, physical wide man. I still do. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, Martinelli, you've stopped scoring. You stopped showing. And I don't have those feelings anymore. So I think he'd be the breakout player.
Paul?
I'm struggling with what would classify as a breakout player. I'll float one, right? Granit Xhaka. Now, I know people will be rolling their eyes thinking, oh, this is my Xhaka agenda. But actually, if you notice, I mostly don't talk about Xhaka because, I think we've, and me a little bit, but I think we've totally underestimated how good he's going to be in a good team and how unshiftable he is from the left eight he will become for another season. But
yeah.
And I don't think we're going to have like a Smith Rowe comes from nowhere or a Saka comes from nowhere. I think Martinelli is like the natural breakout choice, but you guys have picked him. And like for a conventional breakout player, Martinelli or a Zinchenko, but I don't know if that one counts. I think Zinchenko will be big for us, but I don't think Zinchenko is going to be taking Xhaka minutes. I think what we're going to see is the breakout partnership will be Zinchenko, Xhaka finding their spaces, Xhaka dropping a little deeper, Zinchenko popping in ahead of him, and that'll give all sorts of variability to using Xhaka in the left eight spot, opening up that space for Zinchenko to alternate with him as the left eight.
Yeah. I'm going to, and I see that. I mean, Xhaka has an important role to play, and if he plays it well and he isn't dislodged from that position, that's going to mean he's adding something he didn't add last season. So
I think the whole ceiling conversation, right? I'll say this very shortly. Like, Xhaka limits us with the ceiling, and he does, but he keeps moving the ceiling up somehow. I don't know how. And the team playing better football. You're like, oh, actually, he's going up with the team. Shocker.
I think a lot of this analysis, just like everything we're predicting right now, is really heavily dependent on preseason meaning something. And I know you think it does, and I am inclined to agree. Clive?
Yeah, I just want to say, as we're analysing this, and there's one player that's missing in all our minds, and that's Fabio Vieira. And I've, like everybody listening, has watched all the bits and pieces we need to watch, but we have such short memories as football fans, right? And he's not in our minds at the moment. And I think when he comes into our minds, I think it's going to absolutely change our tactical view of the team and people's strengths and roles within it. As soon as he settles, I think we're going to naturally look at the game and look at the team differently. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to the day when he gets on the pitch and hopefully he meets our expectations, because I think there is a very good player there.
Yep. I agree. I'm gonna pick Martinelli, but I'm gonna say this, especially having watched those first 3 episodes of All or Nothing. Like, don't sleep on Emil Smith-Rowe. I realize he's out of our mind a little bit right now. First of all, those episodes make you really want to root for the guy. But there's a part where Arteta talks about why he sent him on loan and what he wanted from him on loan at Huddersfield. He said, I don't care how you play. I'm not going to watch your games. I don't care how you play. You have the talent to be one of the best players in our team. I want to hear what other people say about you. I want to hear what other people say about you as a man, not as a player, not how you played, as a man, that they sent him away to build character, to build personality. And I think the fact that we gave him the 10, right? The fact that we gave him a more senior position squad shows that he showed what he needed to show on loan and came back ready to go. Injuries have meant that he's had a stop-start career for us, but when he has played consistently, he's always had goals. He's always been influential. He's going to have to find his place in this team again, at least right now, because the place is someone else's, and maybe through the Europa League. That is a very, very talented player that we are very fortunate to have. And I think there are things you don't necessarily know when you're watching the game, but behind the scenes, you certainly get the sense that he's someone who, inside the club, they believe has all the talent to be as good as anybody in this squad. So one to watch out for. Tim, we're going to start to have to speed this up a little bit. So let's get into a little bit more of a rapid fire disappointment of the season and maybe a 1-sentence rationale.
What do I think the disappointment of the season will be?
I was thinking player who would be like the disappointment of the season. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you have to pick one. So nobody get mad at any of us. I'm forcing you to pick one.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say, I don't know. I really don't know on this
That's
one.
good. That's good, because last season I could have picked 7. So
I'll say Kieran Tierney, just because I'm not sure how much I actually expect that, but I'd say if he has a similar time with injury again, that might be the end for him at Arsenal.
Yeah, agreed. Paul, 1 sentence or less on your disappointment of the season.
I don't actually expect it, but I got to pick somebody.
That's exactly right.
I'm going to go with Ben White, because I think it's such an interesting thing to watch.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a really interesting shout, given that he has someone competing for his specific position, and if Tomiyasu gets fit and takes the right back position back, then Ben White's in a sort of liminal space there, maybe.
In kind of the way Tierney might. But I'm a big Ben White guy. I'm not.
I got it.
I think he'd
no
be good.
caveats. Not letting you caveat. You hate Ben White and you think he's a bad player.
Yeah.
Clive, who's the player you hate and think is bad?
I don't hate him, but I don't think we play his football anymore. And I think it's becoming very apparent. And that's Rob Holding. I think if we want to be a halfway line
Such
team,
a softball answer.
I just don't think we play that football anymore. I just don't think we do. He's great. Right? It's not a problem. We all know what he is. We don't play that way anymore, apart from the last 15 minutes of the game when we're holding on, which we won't be holding on at all this season. Right? So that's the player that I think is starting to stand out. players on your exterior have got to allow us to play half up the pitch. If we can't play up the pitch, we saw what happened at Spurs, right? He gets too tight, gets turned, gets rolled, problems. So from a purely tactical point of view, rather than him being disappointing, I think he's fine. I think Rob Holding could struggle this season.
Yeah. I have two. So I have a really aggressive one I could pick that's kind of spicy and fun. And then I've got one that I think is a little easier. No one's going to like any of these answers because you're picking a player that you think is going to have a bad season. I'm not saying I think it will happen. So the one that's kind of easy is Sambi. I'm not totally sure where his position is. And I'm not sure he'll lock one down. They're saying he's looking good at left 8, but I think Vieira's there chomping at his heels. So is Smith Rowe. So it could be Sambi. I'm going to go with Sambi, but I just want to say, because I think he could get squeezed in sort of the same way that Paul was saying Ben White. But I just want to say an interesting pick that I don't have the guts to pick is Ramsdale, because we saw Ramsdale have a weaker second half of last season. He has something to come back and prove. Now, I think he will prove it. Again, I think he will prove it. His passing is what he's there for, and I think it looks back on point. But unlike a lot of these other players who are coming off good seasons where they built on their reputation, Ramsdale started hot and faded a bit. John Harrison did a great thing, I think, on the Latte Firm on where his weaknesses were in the back half of last season. John's going to come on to our pod in the near future. But Ramsdale, for me, is someone who has just a little bit to prove to say he's more first half last season Ramsdale than second half. Okay, we'll stick with the speed round that isn't speedy enough, so keep speeding. Europa League star. I'm going to give mine first, and my Europa League star is Emil Smith-Rowe. I think it's his path into the team. I think he's going to dominate at that level. The group stage of the Europa League is a perfect place for Smith-Rowe to say, pick me. I was torn. I thought about picking Nketiah there, but as much as I think Nketiah will play well, I think Smith-Rowe has the talent to just dominate there. I picked 2. Yes, Clive, I get it. I get dealer's choice there, but I'm going with Smith-Rowe. Clive, who's your Europa League star?
Do you want to pick any more while you're at it? Just like to sort of
I think Vieira could be in the mix. I would say, maybe. No, just go. Keep going.
Yeah, I think Eddie will be the Europa League star. I think that's a lock, mate. He'll start those games and he'll get us going and he'll get lots of goals.
Yep.
And he's my one and the only one I'm going to speak about.
Perfect. Well done. Well done on the speed round too. Paul, speed round, Europa League star.
Ben White, because it's the only place he'll play. I'm joking. I'm going Vieira. I think that's he'll get blown away in the wind. He's got he needs a season to eat ham sandwiches, fill out and stuff. But he's going to be perfect in the Europa League, and he's going to amaze us.
I will eat the ham sandwiches on his behalf. Don't worry about that. Tim, who's your Europa League breakout star?
Yeah, Eddie. I think he'll score. I think he'll fill his boots in the group stages, and I've got a hunch that if and when we get to the knockouts, that might mean that we keep some faith with him and don't just take him straight out of the team. So I think he'll play a lot in our run, however long it ends up being.
Super useful too, because we're going to need him this season, not just in the Europa League. All right, here we go. The over-under section. You just say over or under. All right, and before we do that, over under the number of vitamins you have to take every day to get your nutritional value and to keep your body healthy. It's probably like 100, and you don't take them because it's a pain in the butt. It's expensive, and most of them are just gummies that you pee out the vitamins anyway. Well, I take AG1, and I can tell you from personal experience that it is way better than that. I cleaned out a shelf full of vitamins. I take it every morning. I love it. It tastes great. Plus, I get some water. You need to drink more water. So what is AG1? What is this stuff? Well, it's 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole foods, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Okay? It supports your health, your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. So all the things. Okay? I love it because I like the way it's derived from whole foods. I love it because it's helped with my gut health. That was something that I specifically targeted as needing. Nothing else worked for that. I drink a lot of coffee. I wanted to get off that a little bit, and I find that it helps with energy throughout the day, not just those bursts like caffeine gives you. So really good. It's lifestyle friendly too. So if you're keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, no problem. You can use it. No GMOs, less than 1 gram of sugar, cheaper than the price of an expensive cup of coffee per day, and over 7,000 5-star reviews. So it's time for you to do this. 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. You don't need a million different pills and supplements. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/vision. Like this is Arsenal Vision, So you're just going to use vision. How hard is that? It's not hard. It's athleticgreens.com/vision. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/vision to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Is that enough of that?
Indeed.
Tim, Gabriel Jesus, over under 18.5 Premier League goals. Let's zip through it, baby.
I'm going to say over, but just. I reckon
I picked these
20.
numbers really well. I make it really hard. You're going to go just over. Clive, over under 18.5 Premier League goals.
Over. You know what I'm like. Just get the over in.
Golden boot for him, I see. Paul, over under 18.5 goals.
Just under.
Yeah. So, God, you hate all the players. It's weird. I am going to say, I'm going to go over. What the hell? Yeah. And again, I want to make the point. Well, we'll make that point in a moment because Paul flagged it in the pre-match talk that we did. So we'll flag it in a minute. Paul, stay with you. Martin Odegaard, goals plus assists, over under 16.5.
It's pronounced Odegaard.
Odegaard.
Just under.
Under 16.5 goals plus assists. Tim, 16.5 goals plus assists.
See, I think under, but I tipped him for player of the season. If he's going to get player of the season, it's probably... I'm going to say under.
Yeah, I mean, 10 goals and 6 assists, he could still get there if he's just pulling all the strings too. Did you say under?
Under.
Paul, yep. Clive, what do you got?
Yeah, just over.
Just over.
Mate,
yeah, I'm going to say just
this is
over.
Open top bus time, mate.
Well, I mean... And the question is how he's going to get there, right? Like, could he do 8 goals, 8 assists? Like, I could see that. It's the goals that's going to be interesting. He needs to add those, but he looks like he's poised to do it. So let's give him the over. Saka, Bukayo Saka. You may know him as Bukayo Saka. You may know him as the little chili pepper star boy. Tim, star boy. Over under goals plus assists 18.5.
I'm going to say over. I think he'll have a bit of a breakout season in front of goal, and it looks like he's taking our penalties as well. So over.
All right, Paul, this is where you wanted to discuss this. I have this as all goals, all whatever. So penalties included. You don't want it to be penalties included. You have over under 18.5 goals plus assists, and be very quick on your penalty point, please.
We don't know who'll take them, and you don't know how many penalties a team gets. It varies significantly. So I'm going to say over if he takes the penalties, and he probably will. So I'm going to go with the over, but I actually think under.
Okay.
Under if he doesn't. So
okay, Clive, in one sentence or less than one sentence, over under 18.5 for Saka. Goals plus assists.
Over what Tim said. However, I did notice at the weekend when he took that penalty, he was the guy that was fouled, so he took it. And it wouldn't surprise me if Martinelli takes some penalties. I just got a feeling. But hey,
yeah.
I still think over.
Jesus doesn't have a great record with him. Martinelli, goals plus assists, over under 16.5, Tim.
Who was that, sorry?
Martinelli,
16.5. Under.
Okay. Clive?
Yeah, just under.
Paul?
If he takes penalties,
just under.
I'm going to say over, and I think it'll be close, but I could see it being like 11 goals and 6 assists, something like that. His breakout player is going to be great. Nketiah goals, just goals, Tim. Over under 10.5.
I'm Premier League under. I don't think he'll play enough to do more than that.
Clive?
Sorry, I missed that player. Sorry. I was thinking
Nketiah,
I'll say the
Nketiah.
answer.
Mm-hmm.
Nketiah, what numbers?
10.5.
10.5?
Elliot, I'm beginning to think you saying the names really fast hasn't speeded us up.
I'll say the name slower if you say your answers faster. Come on. 10.5. Hem and haw. What do you got?
Just under.
Okay. Paul?
Just under.
Yeah, I'm going to say over. I think, we forget that there's 5 subs this season. He's still going to play a lot of minutes, and I think he's going to come on against tired teams that are chasing the game, and he's going to score running in behind, and I think it's going to be a beautiful thing.
He's also going to come on for a lot of games where our job, because we start quick and score goals, is to keep us solid and harry their defenders, so it works both ways.
Perfect. Smith Rowe, Paul, goals plus assists, over under 14.5.
Under. I think he's going to have to struggle a bit to get his minutes and stay fit and all that kind of thing. And he overperformed on XG for a while this year.
Massively. Yep.
Yeah, love the guy.
Okay. Yep. Look, if he plays, he's going to smash this. We just don't know how much he's going to play. Tim, over under 14.5 for Smith Rowe goals plus assists.
I think under. That's roughly what he did last season, right? 10 Premier League goals and
he had a couple of assists. Yeah.
Yeah. I think under, because I do think Martinelli will have a very good season.
Yep.
This is just a factor of minutes. And again, like for me, 5 subs means he's going to have chances to play. I think he can get there. I have him just under 2. Clive, what do you have?
I have him just under, but I heard your words about Smith Rowe earlier, and I thought they were very strong and powerful. And I saw an interview with him this morning about him at the Premier last night, and he's not fit at the moment, but he looks really hurt by that. And I saw like a determination within him. I thought, you know what? I sort of agreed with you, Elliot. What's his space on him? He's a player I don't read, but just under. But
he's an emotional boy.
He's not fully written, and that's for sure. And I might be reading him wrong. I've always said that I don't see him as clearly as others. So yeah, what's his space?
We're running out of the time we have to record. Otherwise, I would have added in a section I forgot to put in, which is a number of interviews in which Zinchenko is crying, but I'm not going to do it. I love a man who cries. I'm a man who cries. He's a man who cries. That's a thing I could be warm to. More men should cry. Cry. If you're listening to this, please start crying. Pepe, goals plus assists, Premier League. Tim, over, under 5.5.
Under. I don't think he'll play, basically.
Clive?
I don't think he'll be here.
That's going to hold him back.
That will hold him back. Well, he may score him somewhere. Clive?
Yep, under. No need to explain it.
Under.
I don't see the groove.
Yep. I'm going to say over. I weirdly think he's going to be here for the season, and he'll play just enough to like score 6 goals somehow.
I think if he's here, he'll be under. But anyway.
Yeah, probably. Tierney, Premier League starts. Over under 18.5, Paul.
Under. I think Zinchenko is here for a reason.
Yep, fair enough.
And you got the Tierney injury thing.
That's the issue. Clive, over under 18.5 starts.
Over. Like I say, it's a 5 sub game, right? And
yep. Starts.
Starts. These are starts.
Oh, starts. Sorry, I thought you meant appearances. No, I still think just over. Over.
Yeah, he's a player we're sort of forgetting. He's still pretty good at the football. Tim, over under 18.5 starts for Tierney.
I'm going to say just under. I think that his minutes might be spread throughout the Europa League as well. I think if he's fit, he'll play plenty, but it might not just be Premier League.
Yeah, I'm going to say over. It's not a lot of starts. I mean, if he doesn't start over 18.5 games in the Premier League, fitness permitting, he's not going to be here next season. That's not a player who's going to be willing to be a bit part player. So watch this space. So Tim, then we'll switch to this. Zinchenko starts in the Premier League where Tierney also starts. Over under 6.5.
I'm going to say just over. Yeah, I think 7 maybe feels about right. So yeah, over.
Okay. Clive, if you follow that question, starts where Zinchenko and Tierney start the game together, over under 6.5.
I did listen to you. I say just under, but literally 0.5 under. You know, but hey, look, it's a educated guess and barely educated. Yeah. So just under.
We don't know yet, but yeah, Paul, over under 6.5.
I'm gonna go under. I got to back my Xhaka theory that, like, where would he play apart from in Xhaka's spot? So,
well, I mean, Xhaka could get injured. He could have 3 or 4 red cards. You know,
sure.
It's a joke. Jokes exist. Okay, you're gonna go under. I'll say under as well. And I think maybe the theory that winds up being disproven is that we bought Zinchenko for anything other than left back. I think there is a chance that we bought Zinchenko because he's a left back and we want to use him at left back and he becomes our left back because we play a 2-3-5 buildup and that position is not suited for Kieran Tierney and it is suited for Zinchenko. Tomiyasu, Tim, Premier League starts over under 20.5.
I'm going to say under. Maybe for fitness reasons, but like I said at the beginning, I can see the back four we're starting with this season getting some games. together.
Clive, 20.5 starts for Takahiro Tomiyasu.
20.5. I think he got, I'm not sure he got last year, the early 20s, I think. I'd say just over. It starts though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say just over.
Okay.
And my reasoning is, do you want to know reasoning? Or I'll save it for
Please,
the podcast?
quickly. No,
Well,
go
I
for it.
just
This is the podcast.
We're all loving these players, and particularly Saliba. But it is his first season in the Premier League, and they're going to have to look after him. He's not going to play 38 games straight out. If he does, he's more generational than even I think. So I think there will be a level of rotation. So yeah, that's where I am.
Yep. Paul?
I'm going to go under. I think Arteta has wanted a headache of having two strong players to play each position, and he's going to I think he's going to regret that headache when it comes to selection time across the course of a season. He'll enjoy it, but I think Tomiyasu will be rested whenever possible so he can solve his Ben White-Saliba problem by picking Ben White at right back.
And I will say over. And my theory is simply that we are massively into the recency bias territory here. Tomiyasu was arguably our player the first half of last season. He is extraordinary. He is better than Ben White at right back. Make no mistake, he is a better player at that position. I do not believe we bought Ben White for the money we bought him so that he could lose his center back place to a player we did not keep around or use when he was here. Does that mean that I think Arteta hates Saliba? Nope. I think he likes him, and I think he's excited to have him at Arsenal. But I think he likes Ben White more. And I still think that in his mind, Zinchenko, who he bought, he didn't buy Tierney, and Gabriel and White, who he bought, and Tomiyasu, who he bought, is his back four. And Saliba will get chances, lots of chances. But I think the plan, when fit, is to go with Zinchenko, Gabriel, White, and Tomiyasu, because that's his group. And we're just falling victim to recency bias. Now, do I think that's the right thing? I don't know yet. None of us know yet. But for me, don't sleep on the guy who was our player this season as long as he stays fit. Now, the problem is both he and Tierney haven't played any football since January, essentially. And that could be the reason he doesn't get there. Saliba, Premier League starts over under 24.5, Tim.
Under. I think it will be under that. Again, a bit like Tierney, I see him playing between the competitions and playing a lot of games, but not over 24.5 in the Premier League, no.
You have Saliba as our breakout player, much like you had Odegaard as our player this season, and you then predict them to underperform. I like what you've done here. You've given yourself 2 bites at the apple. Clive, 24.5 starts for Saliba, over under.
Just under. But I don't think we should look at that and say that's a bad thing, because I think the club are super focused on trying to win the Europa League. So I think you're going to see some serious rotation when the moment calls for it. Group depending, shall we say? So yeah.
Paul?
Under, for the reasons Clive says. I think we'll use him a lot, just not quite 24.5.
I'm going to go over, and the reason is I just think there's going to be a situation where William Saliba is playing too well to not be in there, and especially in the games where we are ball dominant, because I think his passing is something that transcends what we've had in the back line before. I think he will show he's up to the task and make the position his, which is good. That's how meritocracy works. Ben White, Premier League center back starts over under 25.5, Tim.
I'm going to say under, to be consistent with what I've said. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it's over at all, and my kind of semi-prediction doesn't come to light. But yeah, I'm going to say just under.
Clive?
Yeah, I know without wishing to agree with him a lot, I'm going to say the same. But we have to stop thinking about, he's playing centre-back anyway, just slightly wider.
He's playing centre midfield, really.
Yeah, he's just playing to that. We know where he's standing. We're going to get the pass maps, and he's just, where did he stand for Brighton? It's the same place, right? So, he's been brought for that, in my opinion. So yeah, he's very good at it.
Yep.
So.
Okay, I'm gonna. So you went under, yeah.
Yeah.
Paul, over under 25.5 center back starts under. Yep.
That's it.
And I'm gonna say under. Yep. Go ahead, Paul.
No, that's it. I think he'll play a lot, but I think there's some vulnerability to some of his starts. That's the position on the pitch that's going to be the most ding-dong battle, White and Saliba.
And the other thing is, right, realistically, I can't see Tomiyasu even being ready for selection for, let's say, 5 games, right? End of August. And if that's the case, boom, right there, you got Ben White, 5 starts at right back. That he's not. I mean, you're down to 33 Premier League games already.
Yep.
So I just think before Tomiyasu's even in the conversation, White's going to have played a lot at right back. Sambi, Premier League starts, Tim, over under 7.5.
Going to say under, yeah. I think most of his football will be Europa League group stage, League Cup, and I don't see him starting many Premier League games, but I see him finishing quite a lot.
Yeah, this is linked to 2 things in my view. Partey's availability and Xhaka's performances. If Xhaka continues to play the way he is and Partey is available, then I don't think Sambi gets there. But if either of those things change, I think he's got 2 paths to being in the team pretty easily. Not that I think he'd be the 1-for-1 Partey replacement, but I think we'd reconfigure a bit, and I think he'd be one of the first in line to come in unless it's Zinchenko. I still see it under. I don't see the path to Premier League starts. I think it's Europa League for him. Clive, over under 7.5 starts for Sambi.
Starts, I see, unless there's an injury, he'll be just under. And I know he hasn't said he's going to go out on loan, but if we were to buy in there, I think it may make sense to loan him. It's all about player development. And there's no point in, if we were to buy in there, we all know who we're talking about. Why not loan him?
T Lemons.
Yeah, why not loan
T Lemons. In the Discord, there's a GIF of someone dunking a lemon into tea, and it's come to represent T Lemons. T Lemons. Okay, so under. Clive, I'll stay with you. Vieira plus Marquinhos, Premier League appearances, over under 11.5.
Oh, over. I'm going to go over. I think they're the 2 exciting ones for me because I don't know much about them. But what I've seen, they play the way Arteta wants to play, right? So yeah, I think over. Oh no, you said appearances, not starts, didn't you?
Yeah, appearances, 15.5. Yeah. Yep. Tim, over under 15.5 appearances for Vieira plus Marquinhos.
Under. Yeah, again, mainly Europa League. And Marquinhos is a player, I think, in the second half of the season that could potentially go out on loan.
Yeah, the thing that could throw this, right, with 5 subs especially, is Marquinhos could get the last 3 minutes of like 7 different games. You know what I mean? It could be one of those kind of things, and then that throws this whole thing off. I'm slightly under too. I mean, I want to believe that Vieira. I think Vieira is the one that could throw this off because he could come in and be really, really good. He is a really good player. There's competition there. He's got to fight off, I think, Smith Rowe. Shaq is going to start there. Sambi wants that position. If Odegaard stays fit, like I just think it's a real battle. I'm going to go just under, but it wouldn't surprise me if he gets over on Vieira. Marquinhos, I could see having, 3 3-minute Premier League appearances this season, if at all. Paul, over under 15.5.
Going to go just under because you still have your Smith Rowes who need to get in there. Loads of appearances for these guys, but just under.
Yep. Here we go. All center midfielders combined. So that's Thomas Partey. That's
Elneny, Xhaka,
Elneny.
Sambi.
I guess we'll call Xhaka that. Sambi. Goals plus assists, over under 7.5. Tim.
I'll say just over. I've got a feeling that Xhaka might chip in a bit more than usual. Not massively, but a bit more than usual with a better left side around him. And I think that might push it up.
And he's sort of a cheat because he's playing more as an AM than a CM, but that's fine. Clive, 7.5 goals from all of our central midfielders combined. Goals plus assists.
I'd say under. No, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'd say under.
That's what I've got.
I'd say I
we don't get much.
I'm not going to explain
group.
it because I can't. So yeah.
I mean, if Thomas Partey starts hitting the target, that might change. Paul, over under.
Comfortably over. It's goals plus assists, and we're going to spread those goals around and those assists.
Okay. Odegaard doesn't count in that group, obviously. I don't think Xhaka should in the position he's playing, but if he starts in central midfield, he can. Okay. This one's dumb because it's so hard to predict cup football, but to be fair, this whole thing is dumb. Tim, Europa League outcome.
Semi-finalists. I don't I kind of think we'll get one of fourth or win the Europa League. And I've said fourth. I don't think we'll do fourth and the Europa League.
Okay. Clive, Europa League outcome. Winner. I'll put it down.
Yeah, I think that's
Paul?
a trophy we're going to win.
Yeah, Paul?
Like I never say this, and this against every fiber of my being. There's no way we should be the winner. We're probably 10-1 odds at this. Yeah, winner. I think we make the semifinals. If we make the semifinals, we'll win that over 2 legs, and I think we will feel it when we get to the final. Winner.
It's weird. Arteta has won the FA Cup at Arsenal, and yet I think he's been a bad cup manager for us largely. We've been bad in the Europa League under him, and we did poorly in the FA Cup last season. I'm going to say semifinal. I think the problem with the Europa League right now is it's really this simple. Who drops down from the Champions League? Because I don't think there's any team we can't beat that's in it right now, but it depends who drops down from the CL, and that's going to determine, what we do. I'll say semifinal with the caveat that, I think we can go ahead and win it pretty easily. We have one last section. Tim, who's going to win the World Cup?
I'm going to say Brazil. I think I think they're close to being one of the best teams in the world. They've got a manager who will be very good in the tournament. I also think the climate might just go in their favour.
That's an interesting point. Yep, that's a really interesting point. Paul, who's going to win the World Cup?
France. They're very, very, very strong, and they will lean into Benzema, and they're very, very strong, and they got such depth. But yeah, them or Brazil. France.
Both of our wives are speaking here, Paul. That's what's happening.
I am her glove puppet. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, so I guess if that's the case, then I'm going to have to pick the United States, and I'm not going to be wagering on that. Clive, who do you have winning the World Cup? Is it coming home?
I've not really thought about it, but England got too many question marks over them, although they should be winning it this year. I'm going to say France without much thought, really, just because I think their talent depth is just wonderful. So, yeah, France.
France, huh? Yeah. It's tricky, isn't it? But I am going to say, I'll say Argentina. I don't know.
Because
I
of the Lisandro Martina pursuit?
I like Lionel Messi is done. This is it. It's his last chance. I think it's going to be a bad World Cup. I think it's going to be a weird World Cup. I think there'll be a lot of players who aren't available because, look, it's right in the middle of the season. And I think it's going to throw up something weird. And maybe Lionel Messi in a slower paced game, right, in the heat, is someone who can string together just enough magic to lift a World Cup. And mainly because, I don't know who to pick. And I think it's going to be a crappy World Cup. We'll see. I hope it's not, obviously, but we'll see. Okay. We have our predictions. Once Scott gives his, I will post these on the website so everyone will be able to see them and follow them. So that'll be just in a couple of days. You can lampoon them at your will. We will have an all or nothing podcast tomorrow, and then a Palace preview and instant reaction. Remember, the instant reaction on Friday for patrons, and the full match podcast will be on Monday. I hope you join us this season for the Patreon. We do rewatches of the games. We do player spotlight videos, like we do basically scouting videos for our own players. We try to do a lot of extra stuff there. You're getting a couple of videos and a couple of podcasts a week. And if you're in the UK, it's down to 4 pounds because of exchange rate stuff. So I really appreciate everyone who's there. It means a lot. The Discord is great. We get a lot of good information that's posted in there. You don't have to go on Twitter to follow the transfer rumors and stuff. It's a special community. It's one that I'd love to have you a part of. But if it doesn't work for you, if you can't do it financially, or you don't want to, don't like the podcast enough to do it, totally understand that as well. Point is, you're here. We love you for being here. I'm excited to go through the season with you, and we just think it's going to be a fun one, as we've just indicated. So we're happy to have you along for it. And I hope that I have spoken well on behalf of Clive, who's on Twitter at ClivePAFC. Thank you, Clive.
Thank you very much.
And Paul is on Twitter at Pause My Pants. Thanks, Pause.
Woohoo!
And Tim was on Twitter at Stillberto. Thanks, Tim.
My pleasure as always.
Here we go, everybody. It's all happening. Premier League's back, baby. August 3rd, Premier League's back. Gosh, it's crazy. Starting the season, Friday night, under the lights. Still more podcasts to go. Don't worry, we got a lot coming up. Make sure to get in touch and let us know how bad our predictions were. We love you, and we will talk to you after Arsenal 10, pals. No.